This session, we are going to discuss about clustering and taxonomy of clustering. So you are with Dr. Debajyoti Bora. Let's start the class. Clustering is an important area of data mining, or nowadays we call it as machine learning technique. It's a very trending term, of course. So clustering is an unsupervised study where we have no previous knowledge of the classes of the data. Through clustering, we try to divide the data into different groups on the basis of some similarity measures, and those groups will be known as cluster. So first of all, you have to remember that clustering is an unsupervised study, and second thing is that here we try to divide the data into different groups on the basis of some similarity measures. And these groups are known as clusters. Now look at this diagram. Here you can see some data points. And these data points randomly generated. Like I have shown you in my machine learning class that how we can generate data. So now I am plotting those randomly generated data. Now these data points are distributed here in this particular space. After the clustering is being done, means we perform clustering on this over this data, then we come to this particular conclusion that here we have two clusters. You can clearly see here this is green and this is blue. So two clusters, cluster one and cluster two, and this cross symbols indicates the centroid. Centroid are those which exactly represent the whole cluster. Means, suppose for this cluster one that I am representing with green color, this particular cross is the centroid here, and this is representing the whole cluster. Similarly, for the blue one. Now, the whole clustering process should follow two properties. First one is high intra-cluster property, and second one is low intercluster property. High intercluster property means the elements within a group possess high similarity. Means, say this cluster one, the elements under this group or under this cluster one will show high similarity among themselves, but less similarity with the data points of the cluster two. Less or no similarity with the class data points of the cluster two. So that's why we are calling it as high intra-cluster property, and then low inter-cluster property means the elements possess different properties in different group. Now there are different strategies of clustering, although it can be mainly in two different ways. First, hard clustering, or we call it as exclusive clustering also, and soft clustering or fuzzy clustering. Hard clustering, where data items are clustered in a hard way. This means a single item cannot belong to more than one cluster. That is why this type of clustering is known as exclusive clustering. Like this diagram, you can see here three clusters are there. So this blue point, suppose blue point belongs to the, say this is cluster number 2. It cannot at the same time belong to, say, this one, cluster 1. So they are exclusively belonging to one particular cluster at a time. So this type of clustering is known as exclusive clustering. Soft clustering. Here, a data item may share its properties with more than one cluster. For this, a membership function is designed to find out the degree that how much a particular data item contributes to a specific cluster. Soft clustering always uses fuzzy logic based circulations, or you can say calculation, for determining the membership criteria. Sorry. So means what happened that every data point here, they will possess some membership values. And this membership value exactly represented to which cluster how much they are contributing. This is the reason why we call it as fuzzy clustering, because these membership functions, we call it as a fuzzy membership function. And Also, because of its overlapping nature, this strategy is many times referred to as overlapping clustering. Like you can see here, this one and this one. These two data points here, intersection of these two clusters, they are showing behaviors or showing or possessing some means values which are part of both of the clusters, right? So their membership values are contributing towards both of the cluster. So this is a kind of overlapping condition, and this type of clustering we consider is known as soft clustering. Now let's come to the important part, that is taxonomy of clustering techniques. Taxonomy means this different classifications. You can see if we cover all the clustering techniques, then they will fall under them. Under them means under this partitioning clustering algorithm, hierarchical clustering algorithm, density-based algorithm, grid-based algorithm, or model-based algorithms. Right, partition, where we try to partition means partition the data, and thereby forming different groups, and that number is first we have considered, like k means. Then hierarchical is a kind of tree based classification, density based on the density where the data items are accumulated, uh, means the concentration is high, then we consider it that as a group. Similarly, grid-based means we divide the whole data space in some grid-based structure, and among them we try to form the groups. Model-based algorithms is a combination of any of such this clustering algorithm. Means here we can go for hybrid of say partition or density. So we can combine any of them, thereby creating our own model for grouping the data points. So these are the taxonomies of clustering techniques. Now, if we talk about the applications of clustering, there are many fields or areas where we can go for applying them. It has been applied in almost every field of science and technology where previous knowledge or labeling of data is not available. So very wide in nature, means its application areas are very wide in nature. And among them, the most remarkable applications are like pattern recognition, vector quantization, speech and character recognition, so many of them. And even in image processing or computer vision, clustering plays a very, very important role. And there is an area we call as image segmentation, where the application of clustering plays a vital role. In fact, from our own research work, when we gone through literature review, we have found that clustering techniques can be applied to develop some efficient image segmentation technique. So image segmentation is an important area of clustering, and image segmentation means isolate some objects of an image, forming a different cluster so that that particular object falls in that cluster. So thereby we can have a better analysis of the objects present in an image. So image segmentation means segmenting the image into different segments, and from those segments we can have a better study of the particular object or region of interest. Like if I give an example here, we can give the example of tumor identification or tumor segmentation in a brain tumor image or whatever other tumors. We can go for isolating the tumor and have a better study on those segments, that particular tumor, so that we can get an earlier idea about that whether this tumor is cancerous in nature or not. So I told you a very good example of application of clustering. So I hope in this lecture, whatever I have discussed is everything clear to you. But if you still want to know more, or if you have some doubt, then don't hesitate to ask me through comment. That's all for this session. Thank you.